Okay. Going to modify Carriage here for heated inserts. It'll make iterating on this design in the future easier and quicker, since we won't be threading into plastic anymore. I need to quickly locate my calipers. Alright, 3.8. So why don't we make it 4.5? What the heck? Ten millimeters. You know what? Just for giggles, let's try something different.
Hello, I'm back.
Welcome back to this week's tutorial on how to suck at Fusion 360.
Oh, well, all right then.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Anywho. Oh. Okay. A bunch of them coming out now. So apparently somebody woke up and decided they wanted to come out. All right. I am getting ready to wire up Amara number 2. Into the tool mount. But Levi. Okay. 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 This thing wired up.
Hmm. Oh well.
Really, Decker? You know where I'm at. You were just here. I need to make this a little bit thicker. Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out. Either that or I have to get shorter screws. What?
Hey guys, Dan on.
Oh, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
I am drilling and tapping the updated toolboard mount
Ah, cool.
that I made. Because the other one, while it worked, it sort of works. And I may have to I may have to adjust this one more time.
And when you refer to the other one, that was the one you were kind of layering in between, so to speak.
So there's an adapter plate
Right.
that goes on top of the Hemera.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
So I've adjusted it so that it takes the nylon tie wrap.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I'll throw a picture in real quick just so you can see what I'm talking about.
Well, I think I got it from your old one, and you know, I did a just extension straight off the thing, and I put some insets into it for tie wraps. You'd also posted another picture of it. I don't know, a day or so ago.
Yeah, I've been iterating.
Yeah.
But what
You don't need to post a picture. It was just a curiosity question. You're continuing to iterate that. That's what I thought.
But I've also had a successful installation of an RJ45 adapter to the toolboard distribution.
Yeah.
And I have a functioning toolboard attached to it. So toolboard's already set up, configured, ready to go, and I'm currently wiring the wiring up the Hemera.
Yeah.
So, but before I wired up, I wanted to get a toolboard adapter plate that was going to operate properly.
Uh-huh.
And I'm using, like I said, I'm using the 36-inch long nylon tie wraps that you can get at Home Depot.
Yeah, that's what I was using as well, because they do a good job of being flat. They do a good job of flexing the right way and resisting flexing sideways and all of that. And they seem to work really well. They're ones that are for like air conditioning ducts.
Yep, but
Yeah,
they've still got enough side to side that you can move over the length of the environment, over the working area. So
yeah, that's what I've got in all of mine. And you know, I saw what you were doing in some places to tie it down, and what I've ended up doing, which may or may not be where you want to go in the long run. I'm not saying I just have done this in a couple of places. Is I have boxes of servo mounting screws because I do a bunch of radio control stuff, and I rarely use the screws on it. And so I drilled a hole through the strap and the thing behind it. And stuck one servo screw in it.
Yeah, I've got what I've done is in the latest edition, hopefully I didn't get that up too far off. It's been okay. Now I can actually move forward without using the drill anymore. So I drilled I set up a set of holes in the adapter, in the adapter plate, and then I over drilled, or I went to the clearance hole size on the nylon strap, and then I put a set of screws in that go through and thread into the back of the plate. So you're not threading the nylon strap.
Right.
And mostly because I wanted to be able to remove it without having to mess with it.
Yeah, and you know what I did is a kind of a quick and dirty version of what you're talking about because I drilled a constant size hole through both of them. But it is true that almost all those servo screws are not threaded right up around the head, and they are threaded down at the tip, and so it kind of works out to be the same. There's no threads biting the strap.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like I said, it's not a long term. It's just kind of a quick and dirty. If we're going to design it in, it can be improved a little. But I will say it is extremely effective. So designing something in seems worthwhile.
Yeah, and I think I need to. I think the iteration, the most recent iteration. I think I'm going to need to add another millimeter of thickness to it, perhaps. But dropped the wrench again. So if you take these, if you look, I put a DIN rail on the back of the purge line or the purge extrusion,
Uh-huh.
and I'm gonna make up a DIN rail mount for the distribution board, so it can just snap on there as well.
Oh yeah.
But I've got those two breakout boards. I've got two of those breakout boards, and they're dual RJ45s.
Okay.
So, what you can do is you can just, there's going to be a little jumper wire there, and that jumper wire is actually the one that came with the distribution board kit.
Yeah.
At least as far as like the CAN bus side, right?
So are you using those RJ45 breakouts on the RJ45 side of the distribution board?
No. The distribution.
Okay.
So if you look at if you look at the picture, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
The distribution board has RJ11s.
Yeah.
So it uses an RJ1112 pair, which is a 6-pin. And I'm using the RJ45-46 pair, and I'm using a Cat6 Ethernet cable.
Oh.
So if you look, you see the
Flex 6. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing.
Yep. So, and if you look closely at the picture, you can see that I'm using two leads, or I'm using a full pair, wire 1-2 and and wire 7-8 as the hot and ground, or the positive and negative DC power.
Yeah. Which ultimately ends up effectively being the heater and the rest of its trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so by pairing those, you've got plenty. Yeah, in other words, you're kind of using those RJ45s the same way people are using gun boards.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very elegant. That's very nice, especially with obviously with a flex cable in there. That's really quite good, actually.
And I've got color-coded cables.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna probably sleeve. I may not have to sleeve them, because that's the only wire that goes between that and the tool board. I've got some smaller breakout PCBs. The second picture shows another one that goes off to the tool board, and the tool board is as far as the Jubilee is concerned, that tool board is ready to go, configured. I just have to wire it up. Of course, I don't have another 12-volt blower fan, so
yeah,
that's on order.
Yeah, I actually found a couple in a box that I was reorganizing some stuff and went, oh, look! I was quite excited when I was just cleaning up and organizing some stuff and went, oh, I know where these are going to go. Yeah, that looks really nice. I found the pictures a minute ago, and that works out quite elegantly.
And then There's
Okay.
the latest one I just picked is
Yeah.
I'm just test fitting that, but
Uh-huh.
that strap is there now.
Yeah.
And it is, it's got two screws on it. Like I said, I need to thicken it up a little bit,
Yeah.
but because the screws go all the way through, and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I could stick a nut on the back if I was
Are
concerned
they
about it.
going to plastic or heat sets?
They're going into plastic.
Okay.
I mean, cross section. Let me
Yeah.
give you a cross
Yeah.
section on it,
Yeah. I mean, that's fine.
just to give you an
A lot
idea.
of these questions are curiosity. They're not.
Oh no, I know, I know. I This is part of the collaborative process.
Yeah.
Beep. I am trying to. It doesn't want to stand up. There we go.
Oh, trying to get a cross section.
Yeah. There we go. How's that?
Yeah. 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 That's fantastic.
So the screws go. Those are I think I don't remember if they're M5, M6s or M8s.
Yeah, they're probably
Or
6s.
6 millimeter. I think they're 6 millimeters.
Yeah, they look
So
like 6s.
but between the previous version and this version, I like this version better
Uh-huh.
because it's actually smaller and lighter.
Yeah,
Um, and
it is looking pretty nice.
it's getting there.
Yeah, like I say, I just grafted a thing on top to get going, but I'll probably reprint with this. Um, I've already swapped mine out a couple of times, and it's not that hard to undo everything and swap
Yeah,
out that plate.
I'm just trying to get the tool board on the plate and get
Yeah,
the hammer on the plate so that once it's there, then I can get my wire lengths somewhat close.
yeah,
Um, and I think I'm probably not too far off um, from having a process that means I can build a tool pretty quickly.
yeah.
Um,
You know, it is interesting having the tool board mounted on kind of sort of the top back, or instead of using the words front and back, but the kinematic locking side of the whole thing. That does mean it's pointed into the body of the printer, and when another tool passes nearby, you have a collision, say, between a BMG and that was done without a tool board, and one of these, you actually can hit the tool board. Now, I haven't damaged anything yet,
you can hit
not at
it.
all.
Oh, if you drive a tool, okay, because
Yeah,
out.
if you drive a tool into the back of another tool, essentially, into the lock side of the tool. So I've been playing around with what we discussed of having the axis limits set one way via the tool macros when you're parking and unparking, and have them set another way to help avoid that whole thing, so the tool macros can at the correct points set it this way, set it back the other way, etc. I made an interesting discovery that makes sense when you look at it in retrospect, but I just didn't realize it. Axis limits are in machine coordinates, not offsets.
Yes.
So your tool macros might or might not contain G53s, and they might do other things, and etc. But the Y limit that you put in the axis limit looks really odd as compared to everything else you're doing because it's in machine. And again, I understand why. It's the way it works, and it's appropriate. But that's part of the way I crammed some stuff together, was working all that out.
I got it. Okay. Yeah. So the other thing oh great. Okay. Well, that was an interesting discovery. I'm going to need to move one of the screws because the way it's set up is you have to put the strap on before you put the tool board on.
Oh yeah.
Because the screw is in the wrong spot.
It's below. It's inaccessible when it's all mounted. The bottom one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Not necessarily a bad thing.
No, in fact, I was sort of wondering, looking at some of your other pictures, if you could run one screw that you could get to and kind of make a chamber down at the bottom for the tip of it to plug the nylon strap to plug into.
Yeah, I've actually had some somewhat success in that area as I was doing it,
Yeah.
and that turned out to be mostly because what I was running into issues with bridging
Yeah.
and causing troubles that way. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
The other thing is I think I need to get some more, some longer M3 screws. I need to get another box of 20s because we don't have 20s in our M3 20s are not in our shopping list.
Yeah, and the bill of materials.
Yeah, well, because I mean I just have them because I have them, but
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it seems like I spend excessive amounts of money with Bolt Depot, and I still don't ever have what I want.
yeah, I went through and ordered. Yeah, once I started doing it, I just went through and ordered a bag of each of the sizes up through 20.
I kind of did that as well. But then you have a cap head where you want a countersink or vice versa or something.
Yeah. I've got a bunch of 16s and 18s and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think those are going to be long enough. 50, 50, 90. Yeah, so the 6mm are great for just going from the board into the, but the lower two holes.
Yeah.
So the lower two holes actually go through the assembly, or through the. Just drop the screw again. So they go through the tool board adapter plate, and into the mount plate. And then the upper two holes, there's the middle hole the middle hole of the starfish guide goes into the top hole on the Hemera mount.
Yeah.
Because I've got a triangular. I figured the triangular would give you some flexibility, right? So the top hole goes into the middle hole of the adapter plate goes into the top hole of the Hemera mount, and then the bottom two go through all the way through the standoff and then into the heat set inserts. So the Hemera mount has 3 more heat set inserts at the top in a triangular pattern. I'm gonna try to stop dropping. Every time I try to pick it up, I drop the Allen wrench, and it doesn't hit the table. It goes all the way to the floor.
Oh yeah, they're very good at that. Allen wrenches are quite talented.
Yeah. So how was your day?
My day was actually one of the best I've had in a long time. I have an aircraft that I own grounded due to a cracked canopy, and I have just absolutely not been able to get to it to fix it for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I spent most of the day with that canopy and a padded jig, very carefully trimming it to the final position, and I believe it's ready to glue into place tomorrow. So I am, now it is about 2/3 masked off for the timer, and I ran out of daylight and patience at about the same time, so that's fine. I can finish the masking in the morning. that is very finicky, meticulous part of that.
Oh yeah.
And if you want it to look good.
Of course.
And yeah. And so, like I say, I've been putting that off and putting it off to do other people's aircraft and the day job and keep the family happy and just all of those kind of things. And so it was very luxurious to do.
Sounds like a win for the day.
Yes, very much so. And I messed around with some stuff over the last few days. I can't remember if it went cross through this Discord or not, or I only saw it somewhere else. But I saw a thing where somebody had taken a human hand model and a skeleton model, and they had intersected the two with the idea of printing the hand out of transparent CPU, and the skeleton model was articulated snap together.
Some ivory or something like that?
Yeah, and print ivory of the skeleton and transparent CPU of the hand. And so for the last 3 or 4 days, I've been trying to print the transparent CPU, and it's been moving not very far and then just fading out. And so I was messing with and temperatures and stuff. And about I got it to work not perfectly. And I printed it. And I'll have to go back and see if there's a way to print it with no infill, but my initial thought was to print the hand solid infill and print the skeleton and ivory, like you said. And when you print CPU that thickly solidly, it is no longer transparent, and it's no longer.
Yeah.
And so I worked out all the stuff, and now I can print CPU, and I know how to do it.
I mean,
on the Jubilee.
What if you did, and this is just me shotgunning here. What if you printed the skeleton hand, right?
Yeah.
But you used the human hand and did a negative and printed a mold with it.
Well, and that's kind of what you do to get the 2 pieces that you load into the slicer so that it can do multi-shooter. But I don't know. I may mess with printing a thin wall version of the hand that's kind of hollow.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And see if that is too floppy. But mostly what it did was let me work out printing CPU on the Jubilee.
Okay.
So now I have all the settings for that. And so I'm not too worried about the fact that the hand, it was a total lark. And I'm pretty convinced that the guy that suggested it hasn't actually tried it. Because I had to re-subtract things in a very different way to get it to work all the way he had posted the STLs. But anyway, like I say, as an experiment to work out how to print CPU, and that also got me, and I did get it off the Discord here. Somebody pointed me to those reel holders that sit on the table and the edges of the reel running bearings.
Okay.
And I had been aware of those, but never tried them. And I happen to have a package of, they're almost all designed to use skate bearings because they're cheap. And I happen to have a package of 8 skate bearings sitting there. So I printed one of those. That was part of it to reduce the input resistance on the onboard skate. And those things are really pretty nifty. I'm going to make more of those.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can probably get away with much shorter wires, or if I go to the breakout board, I have to have a longer tie wrap. If I go to the actual PCB breakout board for the RJ45, it's essentially not a whole lot bigger than the socket itself.
Right.
I can probably fix up my adapter plate so that it's held in place right there.
Yeah, I would think so.
But need to do some basic assembly of the Hemera. You've got to put the hot end on before you can, or the heater block and whatnot, before you can actually get it mounted up in the tool block, because you can't rotate it once you put it in there. So,
yeah,
I mean, you can kind of rotate it, but you kind of can't. You don't actually have quite enough space. And I think the other, I kept challenging myself on how much current we're actually going to get on the tool board power leads.
Yeah, I mean, a 40-watt heater plus some other trivia uses, and if you're running 24 volts, a 40-watt heater is 1.4, something like that, amps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark anyway. And so, you know, if you're super conservative and you double everything, that's still well within what you're doing with those pairs.
Yeah.
Especially over those short distances. The really amazing thing to me is if you look up in those tables and then you actually do the math for 2 meters or 1 meter instead of, you know, those tables assume thousands of feet and this and that and their general recommendations. And if you truly do the math, it's amazing what you can.
Well, if you go to for example, if you go to the McMaster car site and you look at the ratings for their 24 gauge 7-strand, their 7-strand 300 volt 24 gauge wire, it's listed at 7 amps.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, and you calculate I2R voltage drop over a meter, and you go, oh, well, okay.
It's effectively.
That's easy.
And that's what kind of heating are you going to get? And they're basing it on 86 degrees and things like that. It's like, all right, not a big deal. We're good. So I'm not worried about overcurrent in the Ethernet cable. And you know what? If you guys start to show some wear or some breakdown, we're starting to see some higher resistance in that. You can replace the 88 cent dollar cable. That's an assembly that's already made up by somebody else.
Yeah.
Thermal compound, yay! Trying not to create a mess with said thermal compound. And of course I'm creating a mess with the thermal. Because, you know, it's use a tiny amount. I did use a tiny amount.
Hey, gentlemen.
Hey.
Oh, quick, we gotta go.
Yep.
Run.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Oh, tired. Didn't get to build as much on the printer today as I wanted. Just looked at a couple of the parts that I had printed and didn't like their quality, so I reprinted them. One of those things where I'm like, well, I'm going to have to redo it, so why not do it better?
One of these things is not like the other.
By the way, any idea why Josh made on the new motor plates, the new ones, that the LMS 04 and RMS 04, why he made that whole conical?
I think it was a way to. Are you talking about holes where the heat sets go, or something else?
Yeah, there's a heat set that's on one side, and then there's a set screw that goes on the other.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so that he made it conical so that it's easier to clean out the push through plastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I am missing a screw from my Hemera.
Are you missing one of the square nuts? Is anything else you can replace?
Yeah, no, and square nuts I have too because I've got a bag of 100. I've got a bag of square nuts.
The ones that I have in a bag of 100 don't fit. The ones on the Hemeras are very thin.
The ones I bought were thin. Thin nuts. But I'm missing. I mean, I don't know if I'm missing it or they just changed which screw was provided.
Yeah.
It's the screw for the heater clamp, and I think they just changed the screw that was provided.
Heater clamp.
Yes,
yeah, got it. It would be a black oxide.
Yeah, it was a stainless. The last Hemera I had was a stainless. This one's a
no, they switched, or at least the ones I have. In fact, I have a kit from a Hemera dumped on the table right next to me, and it's black oxide mushroom head. That's not the right word for it, but you know what I mean.
Button head, yeah. And that's,
Button
that's
head,
what,
thank you.
and that's what I've got. So I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I
so-
think that may have varied over time and back and forth because I've got some fairly early ones and they have black oxide.
Yeah. So I did I did make an initial run of 10B earlier today.
Yeah.
And I identified, not a problem, just it couldn't find the circle.
Yeah.
And it couldn't find the circle because of, and I don't know if this is the reason or not, but this is what I'm going to assume the reason is. My nozzle wasn't completely empty, and
Yeah.
the picture was clear and focused, and like it had the bottom of the nozzle was like dead nuts in focus, right? At least according to my eyes, they were in focus. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But what I saw is that it's like no circle found. It's like, what do you mean no circle found? It's right there. And then I look at it again, and it's like, oh, I've got yellow filament that's clean but flushed on the tip of the nozzle, or flushed in the nozzle. So it's not a black hole. It's
Yeah.
So I need to heat it up and then do a retract on it.
Oh, well, I was going to say, heat it up, rub it with a paper towel while it's hot, in addition to retracting it. I will be the first one to say that the circle recognizer is a little bit finicky, and it sounds like kind of a pain in the butt to clean the nozzles and get the lighting and do this and do that.
Yeah, but you only do it but every so often, right?
Right. You do it very infrequently, and it works so well.
Well worth the effort.
Yeah, it is just astonishing. Thanks, Phil.
No, this is one where it looked like, okay, so it was shipped from Amazon completely assembled.
Yeah.
Right. But Amazon just threw it in a box, threw about 6 feet of brown paper on top of it, and shipped it.
Yeah.
And in the box was another Ender 3 Pro.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
In its original packaging.
Yeah.
And when I say they threw it in a box.
Yeah. You saw how mine was.
Yeah. Go ahead and put it together. I think you might be surprised on how well it went.
I haven't. I was going to, but then Lauren was like, "No, you've spent enough time on the Ender already. You want to work on your Jubilee? Why don't you work on your Jubilee?" So I'm like, "Yeah, that makes sense." But the one Ender 3.
You haven't spent enough time with me.
The one Ender 3 is like pretty damn good. I will say this: I know what that person was fighting, and if I didn't know it as much of what I was doing as I do, for somebody who's new, it would have been infuriating.
Yeah, some of them can be very frustrating.
Basically, the bed is slightly tacoed, right? It's lower in the middle and higher on the sides.
Which is the exact opposite of Ohio.
Yeah, and to make it fun, the Y carriage assembly, the front left plate, well, right plate from their side, but left from when you're facing the printer. That one is bent slightly down. So the spring is extended almost all the way out, and then all the other 3 springs have to be crammed down quite a bit.
No. Yeah, so no. When I was talking about my X carriage, you think I'm kidding?
Yeah.
No,
so
I don't.
Robotics and all those guys, it's heavy as F.
Yep.
Because it doesn't actually, they don't replace your bed. What they do is they add a bar that crosses two of the mount points of the plate, and then you've basically just got a screw that you're moving up and down on the assembly on that side. So you're not really decoupling anything. is the downside to the design that they have, because you've really just bolted something on to 2 other screws, and you're now adjusting them with a single thing. But it does make, since it can pivot on that center point, it does make leveling a lot easier.
Yeah, well, you're doing 3-point leveling, so
Yeah.
that's a thing. Woo, got the screws in. That's a
And
pain.
I just wish any printer that somebody bothers to make, you need, you know, where you don't have auto bed leveling, they need to take one of 2 approaches. You go the route that Prusa went with the Mark III, and that is you bolt the damn thing down, right? You put 9 bolts in it and you bolt it to something heavier than the plate is. Ta-da, done. You've minimized warp, right?
Yep.
And then you use, you know, and in the Prusa case, it works really well because, hey, bed leveling, and not just bed leveling, but skew detection and all the other stuff they've got going on. So that's great, right? Or you go dead nuts simple and say, oh, look, 3 points describes a plane. Oh, hey, 3-point leveling, done. like
Apparently not in some people's head. It is astonishing how many people think 4 points.
Oh yeah, no, I've had so many people be like, oh yeah, this thing's, you know, I had this printer and it had this crappy 3-point leveling thing, and I'm like, no, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
That's the easier way.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the good way. But, you know, lots and lots of people look at that and go, no, whatever.
Toolboard, wiring diagram. Thank you very much. Open it up.
So, and I was correct. Josh has not published the assembly plans yet for the corner double pulley corner plates for the metal plates.
Okay.
So, but in the conversation I've had with him, he said basically it's the same exact instructions as the regular double corner pulley plates, with the new metal plates and the longer screws.
Right.
And so I asked him, I said, is it the pulley assembly the same? And it's just the plates that are longer, the bolts that go through the plates that are longer? And he said yes. So I'm getting the bolt length off of him now, and that will let me actually start assembling them.
So when you say it's the same, are you referring to like the stack up of all the shims and everything?
Yeah, the stack up of all the shims and all that stuff are the same.
Yeah, I had seen some reference to that. I have some metal plates sitting here. I haven't put them in yet. But I was actually planning on kind of putting them on and then playing around with shims. And, you know, in the long run, it's better to have a guide and get it exact.
Yeah.
But you can also sight down the belt inside and say, okay, that's going to work.
And then on the right motor, plate, what's he called? The spacer, the L-shaped spacer that goes underneath. Yeah.
Sorry, that was required.
My old ones didn't come out as good as the new ones that I just printed did, but except for the little specks of black filament that I'm now getting out in some of my prints for no reason at all, other than the fact that there's black filament in the nozzle that isn't coming out, which is driving me crazy because I've run probably 3 hours of print through it.
Yeah, no, it'll come out for several months. You know, it generates it. It's cloning itself in there.
It's carbon.
But the thing that is slightly annoying is he switched the switch on the left motor spacer or the right motor spacer from the, remember in 1.0 he used one switch, and then he switched it in 2.0, and now in this he switched it back to the original switch.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get it where there's sourcing problems.
Yeah, it was a sourcing issue.
Well, he's trying to get it where either one will work.
Actually, his thing was that the old one wasn't thick enough. The plate had to be thicker, otherwise the switch had to be basically shorter.
Yeah.
And so, since with the new motor plates that plate is thicker, he's like, now I can put the switch there and I can just use one switch.
Yeah.
But it means that I have to go back and remake my cable assemblies.
Yeah.
My cable assemblies are a wreck until this thing is actually functioning, and then they get rebuilt. No, I'm serious. It's because we don't have actual wiring. The wiring harnesses and the guidance of the wiring that Josh provided doesn't work.
Yeah.
They're too. If you looked at the back of my machine, I have that socket right next to the locking mechanism.
Okay.
So the connectors, I've got a connector that goes to the carriage. So there's a 6-pin connector that goes from where the locking mechanism is over to the carriage, and that's got my
All right.
my D and my X end stops as well as my front carriage plate sensor.
What is Eric working on?
He is working on an adjustment to. Actually, why don't I just shut up and let Eric tell us?
I suddenly turned on the stream and I'm like, oh look, he's doing something in CAD.
So I'm modifying these 3 plates. And what I want to do here is create a central cooling system. So that basically a CPAP hose will kind of plug in where you see the gray block. And then there'll be some sort of ducting that'll go along the plate on this side, and then that will connect up to the tools when you when you go to pick them up. So basically what I'm trying to do right now, I really just want to rough out, like I want to try to get a plate, the back and front plate of the carriage assembly modified.
Yeah.
To an extent that I won't have to change it again when I go to finalize the CPAP stuff. So right now I'm just going to try to rough out like how the CPAP stuff's going to come in. And then I'm trying to make it so that the guys that put the electronics boards on the back aren't going to hate me if they want to modify this, namely Brian. Or want to change theirs to this. So I have to change my carriage around because
Oh, really?
Huh?
Well, you're gonna have to add room in, right?
Well, no. Basically, all I've really done here is I've extended this plate up, and I've extended this plate up, and this is just kind of here. Let me just. So this is just kind of temporary. I haven't like finalized anything, but basically I move this up, and eventually this is going to bolt together so that you'll be attached on the top and the bottom, and then that should make these plates more rigid. And I think that'll be better for the machine anyway. But that's just me.
So where are you gonna have where's your air passage gonna be? Is kind of my question.
Well,
it's gonna have to.
So the hose is gonna come in here, and then there'll be some sort of chamber, and then like the chambers will probably come down here on the sides of the plate here, and then as low as I can get them, and then connect up to something on the tools. This is all something and over here, and I don't know at the moment because I'm still working that out.
My thought was, if you come out the side, basically, and build a chamber that goes down to where like the tool lock is, you can literally just put a hole in the plate near the tool changer.
Below it. And
below like the twist block.
Yeah, some of that is stuff I've thought about, but there's some trick or some issues there.
Yeah.
First off, you would have to make this all sealed somehow. And then, Daniel, are you watching the stream right now? Did he disappear? Well, I don't know where his whatchamajiggy, BL Touch comes through. So
Oh, yeah.
I would like to make it so that he doesn't ruin his BL Touch, but yeah, if we use this as an air chamber, I mean, I might be able to do something like section off the chamber so that
Right. Or you do it on the side. You do it on the wing where that hollow space is now.
over here. So
Right.
wiring runs through this side.
Okay.
And I don't want to make the air flow too small.
Both sides, though, right?
Right.
So
if we came in, like if I kind of hollowed this area out and made a wall, and then left the wires over here, and I think the BL Touch comes in on this side. Same. Then I think we'll be okay, and we could do something like that. That's part of the stuff that I'm not sure about right now. I still got to work that out, but I also did modify these for heat inserts because I hate disassembling and reassembling stuff when it's just screwed into the plastic.
Yeah. And you're not wrong.
Yeah, and since this is going to be the third time I've taken this apart, I'm not comfortable putting it back on.
I had fun taking the pulley spacers apart today for the motor plates, because when I took the pulleys off the assembly, I couldn't get them out because a little tiny bit of thread locker had seeped in between the shaft of the bolt, the whatchamacallit bolt, and the pulley. So it was affixed to the bolt.
Oh, yeah, this is why we can't come out, because of the rods here. So we would have to make the chamber over here. And one thing I'm worried about is if we have the air going this way, then this way, then this way, and all these different ways, that I'm not sure how much that's going to kill our airflow.
Yeah. Every time you adjust the air, every time you change direction, you're going to lose.
Exactly. So I wanted to try to make these transitions kind of smooth through here, so it kind of flowed around here without having to actually redirect the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I still don't know if
around the outside edges.
Huh?
You were talking about dropping it over and down.
Yeah, basically it would come out and then come down the plate.
Yeah. Actually, just make it come out the top. Right? So extend the cup.
If you come, remember that's where the front of the tool.
That's
plate
where the tool board is.
Oh. It narrows the build by doing it in that fashion.
Yeah, there's significant challenges in where this stuff is going to go, but if I could somehow get the air down underneath the tool locking mechanism, it'll be right in about the right spot to come out around the nozzle.
Well, couldn't you take it out the back? So flip it around to the back side.
Over here?
Like, no, the complete back side. Like, take it through on that side.
What's the back side?
See, like, similar before how we were talking. So bring it down along, like, where oh, you got the belts in the way then.
Yeah, exactly. The only place to come down is going to be right here.
Yeah. Unless
and I don't think we can make the carriage too much wider, because I think if we made it any wider, then we would be hitting the frame potentially. So.
Well, the only thing I was going to say is you could make you could thicken that back plate where the tool change lock is.
If I have to. I'm hoping to leave all the existing geometries alone, but it doesn't leave me a lot of space.
Yeah.
It's going to
Unless
be,
you,
but it's not going to be structural, right? So I can make it really thin right there.
yeah. I was gonna say how much. I mean, I know you're using a CPAP for high flow, right?
Well, I don't have a CPAP blower. I have a 120 millimeter radial blower that I'm going to be using.
Okay.
Someday I would like to use a CPAP blower, but they're difficult to get a hold of, especially right now.
My thought was,
Very hard to get
couldn't
hold of.
you just go for higher pressure air and then give it an expansion chamber? So,
Well,
so you
I don't
run
want to
a
use an
thin
air
tube.
compressor,
Yeah.
and I don't like aquarium pumps. Aquarium pumps don't really provide much airflow.
Nope.
They're not
Even though
designed
they
for
do,
high
they
flow.
don't.
So I don't know if you can come up with. Well, I think somebody has come up with an air pump design. Was that Kevin?
Who? Sorry.
Somebody on the forums has.
Yeah, it was Kevin.
Yeah, and he has some decent prints, but he has a lot of stringing, so I'm not sure how good his cooling really is. It could just be his print settings, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
My ideal would be to come at it. The air would come down and attack from two different angles, because I hate having the air come from just one side. And right now, that's the way I have it set up.
So Alibaba has minimum 3 order CPAP for the $30 range. Just the
Well,
blower.
so don't trust it. I've ordered them twice,
Yeah.
and they say, "Yep, we're shipping them," and then 6 weeks later, "Oh, we're out of stock."
Oh, great. One of those.
And it's it's because they're just not to be had. I have another 5 days on an existing order before I ask for a refund. So
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, we've been
with the drivers.
Brian and I have been trying to order these things since probably mid-January, was it? Somewhere in that ballpark?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't order 100,000 of them.
Yeah, I don't really need 100,000 of them.
Yeah, probably not.
I mean, we were looking for 2, and I had been asking around if anybody else was interested, but
Yeah.
Eric was the only other person who said yes. Come on. For whatever reason, I thought I had more of the 6th position JSTPH connectors, which I didn't. So I have to steal one off of a cable or a stepper motor cable that came with one of the stepper motors that I bought. So, considering I'm going to be making my own cables anyway, because I don't like the fact that it's like, oh, we're just put our PVC tubing around it, and that'll be our cable. Like, no.
This 3D connection mouse sucks.
What's that?
So this 3D connection mouse sucks. It keeps having issues. It's driving me crazy. Like, it'll work fine for a while, and then it will just, take a poop on me.
Yeah, alright. And now I need to put the crimps together. I need to crimp new connectors on the end of this one. Should be right. Maybe. Who knows? I might actually have something turning here in just a few minutes. All right, I know I brought it out here. Oh, there it is. The advantage, disadvantage of having multiple work areas.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
And not enough. Yeah, go ahead.
As much as I love the setup I've had for the last few years and wouldn't trade it for anything, and it's a lifelong goal, everything I have is on multiple levels. I live in a 3-story house that is a full 4th-story outdoor steps above the workshop that's in the hangar. And everything is always in a different work area on a different level.
It's like just be wealthy enough to have full sets of tools.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't trade my setup here for the world. When we bought this house, I went for it because of certain things, and my wife largely went for it because of this room that has huge windows that overlook the tops of trees, because the house is a 3-story on a ridge line.
Yeah.
And one of the things we never anticipated was what we now call the bird show. And we sit in that room and drink coffee, and we're about a mile from a reservoir. We're by no stretch of the imagination on the lake, but we're only about a mile away. And so you get a variety of birds from the trees, from the lake, from this, from that. And you get just every kind of bird in the world. And because we're on the ridge line, they fly right at the windows and then go over our house.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it's amazing. And like I say, I wouldn't trade this place for the world. And every place has its pluses and minuses, but I wouldn't give up the bird show thing.
Yeah, I watch a lot of birds as well. I live on wetlands, and so my backyard actually is on Broad Creek here in Norfolk.
Huh?
And it says it's a creek, but it's it's close to 100 yards wide.
Yeah.
And it's a tidal creek, so twice a day I'm in mud flats.
Yeah. Which just gives you even more wildlife diversity. I mean, that's pretty cool for your bird show.
Yeah, and there's I have a lot of wildlife in the backyard. The backyard's not huge, but it's big enough. And I had American eagle out there, or bald eagle out there.
Get that around, and
I've
sometimes
got
it's
egrets,
a little bit confusing when you
ducks and geese, of course.
So I'm just going to click on the home button, and that will take me back to an isometric
there was a fox
drawing.
family
I'll
out
zoom out a
there.
little bit using the.
Cool.
I'm using a mouse, so I'm just using the middle.
Yeah, we have egrets, seagulls.
Down the bottom here is basically
and a lot of big healthy
now,
hawks.
in Fusion, it.
Oh yeah, and I've got some ravens out there
left
too.
Yeah.
Origin is just
I say they're ravens
intersection
because
of the
they're too
XYZ
big
planes.
to be regular crows.
And
they are not small.
Diameter that we have
I don't know about that
millimeters.
part of the world, but most of the blackbirds that people around here say are crows are really
here
grackles.
brings up now
and,
all of the information that we need
just,
to be able to create.
I'm not sure I can tell the difference.
There were 3 of them when the bald eagle was back there.
To be able to, here brings
there were 3 of them that
diameter
were
that we have
basically
was
corralling it
from the origin.
Oh
so
yeah.
So every time it flew in and it was getting fish out of the
we're going to say, well,
out of the
we
creek.
just want to draw on the base.
But
so we'll start from
they
the origin.
Were,
origin is just a
it would fly into a tree, and then all three of them would fly into the same tree.
The actual
there'd be 2 above it and 1 below it.
diameter that we have was 12 millimeters.
I just called them the Secret Service.
And here it brings up now all of the information that we need to be able to create.
I am not much of a bird expert, but I swear the smaller they are, the more territorial they are.
Oh yeah, well these guys are not small. We're not small.
Well, but smaller than the eagle.
Not by a whole lot.
Yeah, there are some big healthy grackles around here. I know what you mean.
And so, yeah, there's a
4 years, one bald eagle.
yeah.
See, my wife is from Montana, and where she's directly from, the bald eagles are very common. She's from the Bitterroot Valley and kind of the west end of the state, in the Missoula area. Very pretty country.
I got it. Like I finished crimping the wire and I go to open my tool back up and it's like it's not moving. Why is it not closed? I hit the lock while I was closing it.
Oh, yeah, that won't move at all.
It's like, why is this not moving? Oh, doggone it. Well, all right, fine. Crimping the insulation and it slipped, so I didn't get a good crimp on it. I got an okay crimp on it, something I can make work. Worst case, I have to cut it off and. Worst case, I'll cut it off and put it in there again. No, I'm looking forward to having. One of the things I guess this is. Will TAMV do your first tool offset?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because that is a concern that I had because my tool offset I know is not 100%.
So, if the tool offsets have to be good enough that when you switch tools, the second through nth tool will end up over the camera.
Okay.
Other than that, they don't have to be anything in particular. The first time you run it, you can run it with no arguments, and it will prompt you to jog the first tool over the camera. You just mount it manually and jog it around until it's over the camera, and then you press enter or control C or something that says on the screen, and it'll take it from there. Now, in the future, if you want to rerun it, you have the option of specifying a command line argument that has an XY coordinate. And if you do that, it skips that jogging step and just mounts the first tool and puts it over that XY, and that does need to end up over the camera.
Okay.
But at the end, but if you run it with no arguments, it'll let you put the first one. And at the end, in addition to telling you the G10s, it'll tell you the command line XY to use next time.
Okay, cool.
Assuming your camera's in the same place.
Yeah, I'm using Eric's camera mount.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'd work fine. The other thing is, if you're having trouble getting it to recognize circles, yeah, clean the nozzle and this and that. As strange as it sounds, jog up and down slightly in Z to blur the image. Take it just slightly above and just slightly below the focal point, and sometimes that'll cause it to pop into recognition.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sounds good.
It's, and then are you using an LED ring of any kind?
I'm assembling one tonight,
okay.
or maybe tonight. I don't know. Depends on how much later.
Yeah, I have kind of resisted those for a long time, and I finally caved in and said they're probably a really good idea. So there's all the commercial ones where I would describe it as a flat ring with the LEDs pointed up, and they work. But I actually took, all the flex strip stuff that has LEDs on it?
Yeah, I saw your ring where you made a ring facing inward.
It all points inward, and that seems to work really well. I don't know that the recognition algorithm does or doesn't see what our eye sees, Our eye sees a bunch of spikes pointing toward the circle, and so on the conical part of the nozzle, and so I made it fairly big, and it seems to work really well.
Yeah, I've got a 16 LED ring that drops right into this mount. And have you seen the mount that Eric has?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty nice.
Thing I was thinking is that
hey guys, I'll be right back.
I create a second mount. So instead of the bed plate mount, I create a second mount that camera can be pulled off and hung on. That becomes your observation camera when not in use for 10V.
Oh yeah, yeah. So the only thing is you'll have to screw the lens back and forth, which is no big deal. It's not super critical.
You just have to set your focal length.
Yeah, and just reach in with your finger.
I am almost. What I do not have a part cooling fan at this point.
I've been printing without one quite a bit.
Or a part nozzle or anything like that. So
it's not ideal, but you can actually get some okay prints doing that.
Yeah. So what I am at the point now. Well, I have a part cooling fan on order. I just don't have one that works right now.
Yeah.
So this is not ideal, but what I need to do now is attach. Put some strain relief on the wiring. So that's what I'm going to do next. Come on. That?
I'm just trying to figure out how to model this stupid coil. I've never done one before, but I think I've figured it out.
Yeah, yeah, come on. I'm fighting with the wiring, and it's just because I'm trying to put some strain relief on here. It's not going to be pretty because I'm gonna iterate the mount again, but I've got the wires hooked up. I do not have a part cooling fan wiring in here, but that's okay. All right, there we go. Let's snug those down. And because I have the nylons, really? Okay. You know how 50-50-90, when you go to put the tie wrap in, you put it in backwards, right?
Yeah.
Because I was working on the back side, so I couldn't see what I was doing.
Yeah, and like you said, a 50-50 shot that turns out 90% the wrong way.
Yeah. Okay. And now I need a longer tie wrap to tie off the cable connection. And I will have tool number 2. I'm also doggone it, come on. It's going to be nice once I get my hot tighten on this thing. Where's my longer tie wraps? My longer but not super long tie wraps. There they are. I want to throw something on here to support the assembly.
Perfect.
Just to keep it in place until I can.
That will be
And the proof of concept stage. All right. See you in a bit.
Actually,
Okay, so you're modeling the hose.
Yeah, I need something that will work as a cutting body when I make the block, so I can clamp onto the hose nicely. I'm gonna print off a test block here. Except I realized that I probably should model an extra coil below so that my cutting body doesn't abruptly end where it is at the moment. There we go. What the heck?
Okay, that looks really neat.
What does?
It's not completely finished yet, but did it not go up? There it goes.
There we go. That should serve as a cutting body.
Okay. Where's that gone? Okay. Why is...
That's not what I want.
Hmm. All right, what have I done wrong here? All right. Daniel, you back?
Yeah.
So on your second tool board,
Uh-huh.
do you define the sensor as sensor or S? Is it S1 again, or is it S? Is it the next S in line?
a good question. It would be,
because I've got toolboard 20, tool 0. I've got toolboard 21, tool 1.
all right, but your addressing should be 22.0 for everything on 22.
Yeah,
Right.
it's 21. It's 21.temp0, 21.out0, but
Right.
it's S2, H2, F2, and then
Correct. Yes, all that will need to be. I see what you're asking. Yes, you'll have to go to unique numbers on those. You'll have to increment them.
okay, and then when I get to the tool number, it's P1 because that's the tool.
Uh-huh.
F tools at tool 1 because that's the name, just the canonic, the human readable name,
Right.
and then D0 drive 0 because the drive number doesn't. The drive number still is drive 0, right?
Correct.
And then
Actually, your drive number, and let me look at this before I say it out loud.
okay, because the drive 0 on toolboard 20 worked.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I've got H2F6, which is the fan 6.
Yes. So, like, mine ended up being, and my first two are on an expansion, and my third one's on the toolboard, but the principle's the same. So, to your point, it's D0, D1, D2 working down the tools. H1, H2, H3, that kind of thing.
So I do need a D1 on that?
Yes.
Because it's on a separate, it's still listed as drive 0, and I didn't get any errors in the...
So your address of the drive itself will be, and that's back on...
So I'm looking at that, and I'm getting, if I go up to that, I've got the M584 E21.0.
Correct, yes.
And then I get down to
and you have 21.0, 22.0, etc. on the axis definition on the M584.
Yeah, and then on my 569, I've got P21.0 S0.
Right.
But
on the tool definitions themselves, and here I can copy mine out of the thing and post them, into live stream chat.
Okay, because I can show you what I've got. And I've got to check my wiring at this point, because it's saying my thermistor is reading at minus 570 or minus 273 or something.
Okay, so we'll come back to the thermistor in a minute, but I just posted my tool definitions, and you can just see how they march down through there.
Okay.
P0, P1, P2, E0, D1, D2, H1 because the bed is H0, H1, H2, H3, F5, F6, F7.
Okay. Yeah. So here's what
you can see how they just march down through there. Now, if we work backwards and we go up to the individual definitions of those axes or tools or fans or whatever, to your point, and you are correct, they'll have pin numbers of 22.0, 21.0, 22.0, things like that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. So I probably need to adjust that.
Yeah.
So how do I get it to give me a code listing? Do I do like triple quotes or something, or
when you post in the thing, yeah, triple quote, code, triple quote.
Triple
little backtick, the thing to the left of the one on a US keyboard.
So I got my LDO Rails today.
Yeah? What'd you think?
They're better.
Yeah.
They're better. As far as, they're much smoother rolling. I haven't had any problems with them so far. My guess is it's probably the same manufacturers.
Yeah.
But my guess is that LDO is doing quality control.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
So I did. Sorry, go ahead.
Because everything looks identical.
Yeah.
Like the plastic that's used in the end caps, everything looks identical.
What rails did you buy before? Because they're completely different. the Chinese rails that were on the bomb before are completely different than the LDO rails.
No, the Chinese ones that I have look identical.
Mine aren't even the same profile.
Huh.
They're completely different.
I'll have to check it out.
That I have, some of them are kind of rough, some of them are okay, but they do look pretty much identical. LDOs. I've got LDOs on the printer, and you're looking at, and I've got a stack of Chinese ones in a box.
Yeah. I'm currently arguing with Shenzhen Fija Electronics Tech Company to replace the ones that they sent me that were the wrong length. Of course, the fun part of that is I made the purchase in like December, and so they're like, well, hey, you had 30 days, blah blah blah. I'm like, well, I also ordered these other rails from you, and was waiting on those to arrive, so I didn't bother to open anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, you should be nice to a person who purchased
repeat customer,
over $100 worth of rails from you in the last year.
Yeah.
That's right. So they would. All right. Your Clyde says my message could not be delivered because I don't share a server with the recipient, or you disable direct messages on your shared server.
Huh.
Or blocked.
Okay. That's all. Wow.
So what's blocked?
We all ought to be on the same server. We ought to be on the Jubilee Discord server.
I'm on here. I had messed up I had messed up what I was posting, and then I tried to correct it, and I probably corrected it too many times.
Oh yeah. Okay. Nice.
And it's like, you can't do that. You're a bot. It's like, I'm not a bot. I'm just can't type.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
I really didn't want to do that.
All right, so that's my toolboard 0, and I'm able to print with that.
Let me look at it. Okay. 2010. Yeah, I've got that.
And this works. I've printed.
Here's the M563. There it is. Yes. Yeah, that should all work. So your next one will just be M563 P1, D1, H2, F6. And then above that, you'll have all the definitions for everything set.
Yeah, I'm showing you what I've got, and I've got to go back. Like I said, I need to go back and check my wiring because for whatever reason, I've got it. All right, how do I send it now?
Okay.
So I'm really so I'm gonna say I'm kind of befuddled by something that I figured all the Chinese knockoff manufacturers would fix.
Yeah.
So there's all the knockoff BMG extruders out there, right?
Right.
And one of the downsides of the BMG extruder is if that top Bowden tube coupler ever breaks, and they've got little tiny thin metal teeth in them, and they do break, you basically have to throw the extruder out because you can't replace it.
Yeah, you can pull that whole thing out and replace it.
How?
You just have, I use a set of wire cutters and slide them under kind of the edge of it and just lever and yank. Now, let me be sure we're talking about the same thing. Are we talking about the little movable part with the metal teeth in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the blue part that, or the plastic part, and then there's usually a little metal piece. Mine, the metal piece, is sunk all the way down flush with the surface.
I think we're talking about, I know what you're talking about, and you're right, it is not replaceable. But the insert that goes in it, the thing that you push on to remove the tube,
right?
That's replaceable.
So I'll have to see if I can pop that out and get that replaced on mine. But mine, the little metal teeth went missing.
Oh yeah.
Enough pressure built up when I was printing at a really high rate, and my nozzle and hot end couldn't keep up, and rather than strip the filament, it forced the tube out.
Yeah,
and
I've had
so,
that happen.
So I'm sitting there and I hear a little ping, and then I didn't realize what it was for a minute. I looked around. I look over 5 minutes later, and there's like this huge loop of filament just spooled,
Yep.
in the air. I'm like,
Yep.
oh, hey.
You got it, man. That is exactly. I've seen that movie. But that's in fact where I commented. Somehow our printers know when we're doing COVID stuff, because after years of reliable work, one of mine tossed its Bowden tube in exactly the way you are describing, out of the blue.
Yep. Oh, and we had fairly good news this week.
Yeah.
So IC3D sent a thing out on last night, I think it was, like 6 or 7 o'clock, that they no longer need us to print stuff for COVID masks and face shield, because they have managed to work out a deal with TS Tech, which is basically like one of the tech schools, and they also do manufacturing for they do manufacturing for like Honda for automotive assemblies.
Yeah.
And basically TS Tech based a mold for injection molding off of the mask design that they have, and they're now churning out around 1,200 a day.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't keep up with that.
They let us know that if we needed anything, if we had anybody who still wanted the printed versions, that they would still make quantities of elastic bands and the face shield parts themselves available.
Oh yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And we were discussed in the we were part of the governor's presentation on Friday, evidently.
Huh. You know, when you have two editor windows open, it's completely different commands. You will just
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, what have I done wrong?
There we go. Now save that quickly before you screw the file up. I keep cutting and pasting these huge blocks when I'm trying to do one line. Okay.
So what am I doing wrong here? Or I just have a bad thermistor. S1 P20 temp 0,
So what's it reading?
Minus 273.
Yeah, no, that's indication it's not. Well, that's actually usually indication of a wiring fault.
Yep.
That's it's an open circuit.
Yeah, it could be just a bad thermistor. I mean, thermistor.
If you have access to those pins easily, take a little something and short across them, and it should change to 2000.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Let's find out. So what it's saying is it's an open right now.
Yeah, open reads minus 273 or whatever it is, and shorted reads 2000. So you can fool around with that to figure out where your problem is. I changed routers 2 days ago, and I'm still finding all the little tiny things I need to adjust in terms of static IP and stuff.
Nope. I shorted across the pins.
And nothing changed. That might mean Yeah, that might mean that you still don't have all the dots connected, even though it normally means an open wire. That it could also simply mean that you don't have all config dots connected yet.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I thought this thing forced its own static. I have a little box I've inserted in my internet link because I'm so dependent on it now that I'm working from home. And I think we talked about this. You have commercial equipment. I inserted a little thing. And like I say, I've switched routers, and the little thing is 99% working, but it does some extra testing to see how my Wi-Fi is doing. And I think I didn't assign, I didn't assign a static to it. Oh, no. There. Well, that command ought to do it.
And it's very possible that the cartridge, the thermistor cartridge, is just bad. I did not gronk on it. I just snugged it up, and it was like, turn it ever so gently until it stopped moving when I was sliding it in and out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can crush them, but it takes a bit.
An effort, right?
Yeah.
All right, grab the multimeter, check the resistance across the pins, yada, 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 yada.
Well, apparently that command doesn't work. Since when I issue it on my own, I get all these failures. There we go. Oh, so why didn't that work when it's in the script?
Okay.
Well, I'm going to kick myself off again. I'll be right back. I'm rebooting the box that's in stream.
All right.
I'll be right back.
Swear I don't remember Fusion resetting my view every single time I created a sketch. It's driving me crazy.
Oh, hey, Daniel. Got your payment, by the way.
Oh, excellent. Good.
Oh, okay.
I'm back, and this time the box passes its own health check. The configuration on it is complex enough. I wrote a little tiny script that just checks everything's where it's supposed to be. It passed all the checks. I swapped out the wireless adapter on it for a different wireless adapter, mostly because I've done some more permanent mounting in my little wiring closet. And the wireless adapter I went to is physically smaller and just fits better with where everything is now.
Got it. So I've got continuity and a resistance reading on the plug at coming out of the thermistor.
Right.
And I wired it up exactly like I wired up the other one.
Yeah, I don't think you have a wiring problem. I think
Oh,
let's look at.
no, because the thing is, I didn't have that resistance when I checked it at the tool board.
Oh, okay.
So there's a little jumper that goes between, because the thermistor's got this little tiny. I'm going to get another set of thermistors that are a single wire that don't have a connector right there.
Yeah, but don't have that little JST.
Yeah, it's a bigger one too.
It's the black one with the squeeze wings.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger than it needs to be.
Yeah, agreed. And it's funny, it's kind of the smallest thing down there on the hot end, and then it has its clunky connector on it by E3D standard.
Yeah. Okay, I've got continuity there.
Okay, so I think that finishes that.
Okay, that's weird. Could very well have a bad tool board. Unless I've got just something wrong. It's like.
Do you have a resistor? I don't remember the values, but just some intermediate value will give you some random reading between minus 270 and 2000. You just put
Yeah,
it
I just have to go grab one.
Yeah, you put it directly in those pens.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Just for debugging.
I just go grab 100K and I'll be right back.
Yeah, 100K, that I can calculate.
Give me 25.
Yeah, roughly.
Okay, this is not super high tolerance, but it's plus or minus 1%. should give me something close.
Oh, I mean, as long as it gives you a reading.
Yeah, when we get something, you know.
Yeah, that's the debugging.
Minus 273.
That's interesting.
I'm gonna reset everything.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna just double check, put the meter in auto mode, and just check and see what I got on it.
Still looking at your config. Do we know for a fact we're talking to that board, meaning can we either run a fan or turn on a heater or turn the extruder or just anything? Have you done that already?
I mean, I can talk to the board. I can do an M115.
Sure.
No, I mean, I can't. Let me just double check it again. Board 201 LLC. Yep, we got the firmware response.
Okay, so you've got CAN connectivity. And obviously you said you're wiring the thermistor exactly like you did on board 20.
Yep.
I'm just checking basics, thinking about.
That's what troubleshooting is all about, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Same place. Well, here's the thing. So I'm going to take the resistor back out.
Yeah.
The resistor came out of the little baggie that said 100.
Yeah. So you're going to meter it.
You're not helping me, Levi.
Zero. There's really nothing to get forwards or backwards there.
$99.4K.
Yeah. So it's within 1% or so. Well, it's within 5%.
No, it's within 1%.
Oh yeah, you're right. 99.4. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Decimal points and things like that. Yeah. Okay. So 21.10, that's right.
So now it's jumper directly across the room, and it's still reading. All right, fine. I'm going to move the resistor to the other thermal.
Yeah, to temp 1.
Yeah, temp 1, and then I'm going to change this.
Yeah.
back into the config. Unless all of the 308s have to be done before you can do anything else.
No. That, I mean, you do need, and you have it in your config, I'm looking at your config, you do need the thermistor and the heater and the fan, because those three things get collected together into a tool. The only thing I can think of is that it rejected, did you change your D0 to D1 on your M563?
I did.
Okay. So that
it's still showing up in the dashboard. All right, so I'm changing the M308 from 21.temp0 to 21.temp1.
Agreed.
And it's the same thermistor, but it doesn't really matter because I'm just throwing the resistor on there now.
Right, yeah.
Resetting. Waiting for everything to restart.
Also, I don't see anything wrong with this, but, well, let's see what this does. Before I say anything.
Hey.
Do a reading?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I've got to reset it. I'm just double checking what I did, make sure that it actually makes sense. So I have M308S2 P20 quote 21.temp1 close quote.
And then the rest is the same.
Do you wish to restart your board? Yes. Unless it's already restarted right away. It was like almost instantaneous and no. Okay, so I went to restart. I told it to reset the board, but I didn't get the
Disconnected, connected. Do an emergency stop. It'll do the same thing.
There's my instant stop. And minus 273.1.
Interesting. So we've got something wrong in the config, because I refuse to believe that both channels are matter. So do this. Do from your console, load config G via M98. So like an M98P quote /sys/config G.
Okay.
Sometimes when you restart, you don't see errors that are there.
So M98.
Yeah, M98 space P quote /sys/config.g end quote.
Siri here.
MP/sys/config.g close quote. Send it.
And you should get a, it won't disconnect because it's just redefining all those, but you should get a few log messages like whatever is enabled and etc. Did you get any errors?
I didn't get any errors, but I also didn't get any log messages.
Okay.
I cleared the log and I'm running it again.
Yeah. Depends on exactly what you have.
Hey, look at that. I just got error G10.
Okay.
Not exactly. Well, no, it's error M563 tool creation bad drive number.
There we go.
I'm gonna change that back to 0.
Okay.
Because I think the drive number, once you've defined inside of a tool, there's only a drive 0 on that board.
Okay. Yeah, give it a try. See what it does.
Reset the board, yes.
Can't do mine because mine's printing.
Yeah, don't. take to reset the board?
Well, I was going to say, you can just continue to do those
Oh, okay.
M98.
Response too long, see console. I'm looking right at the console. Okay, so after I changed that back to D0,
Yeah.
I got an M98, blah, 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 FTP, telnet, warning, height map is loaded when the current datum z equals 0 datum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Height map from board and height maps.csv, okay. No errors, no warnings. I mean, the only warning is the height map.
What's your temperature reading?
Minus 273.1.
Okay. Do the M98, don't do the reset and see what you get.
I know, that's what I did, is I just did the
Oh, okay.
I just do it again.
But you're not getting an error on the M563.
Nope.
Huh. Interesting, because mine are defined 0, 1, 2.
Okay, but they're 0, 1, 2 on the expansion boards.
No, my third one's on a tool board.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I see the tool up in the dashboard.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, that's very, very interesting. What?
And I see a temperature chart. It's saying bed T0, T1.
Yeah.
If I go to the status job, or if I go to the dashboard, I can see part cooling T0, part cooling T1. Those are the defined.
Can you have that fan wired?
I don't have a part cooling fan wired.
Yeah, I don't either.
Hold on. But I do have a 12-volt fan I can stick on.
You could do that. See if you can turn it on and off.
Yeah.
That would tell you that the tool definition had worked. Because that's how that's all tied together.
Yeah, I just have to look and see what are the two leads I have to put on there, where I connect the leads.
Well, gentlemen, I got to turn in for the evening.
Again?
Yeah. Seems like that happens every day.
Yeah.
You should have that checked out.
I actually want to get up in time so that I have some energy and actually work on my printer rather than just looking at the pile of parts.
There you go.
Nah, just keep looking at the pile of parts. It'll be fine.
If you stare at it long enough, they actually start self-assembling.
I wish. I wish. The fun part tonight was disassembling the motor plates that I had already assembled once.
Oh, what's
not?
Sorry.
I have the new aluminum ones, and the clearances on the screws were really, really tight when I put them in, and I literally couldn't get the plates to separate. So I had to use the press, the half-ton press, to press the screws out of the plastic.
Yeah, and let's not talk about how many times I have taken apart and put something back together again on the Jubilee.
Yeah, I'm on my fourth set of motor plates. And when I put the aluminum ones in, I'm hoping that's the last ones.
That's my goal. Well, and Josh changed just a couple things. The height of the corner bracket on the one is slightly taller now, and so it doesn't use the same switch. It uses the original V1. The switch that is in V1 that he replaced in V2, he's back to using in 2.03.
Yeah.
And it was funny because that's the one cable that I spent a bunch of time making sure that it was all pretty and everything was. And I looked at it and I'm like, and that cable is going to go in a parts box and never get used.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up cutting pretty much all of my cables long, and then only putting the one connector on them, and then when I got to the electronics panel, I cut them to the proper length.
Yeah, I actually bought extra wire the other day. So in the new bomb, you guys all started your printers around the same time, or shortly after I did. In the original bomb, he had different color wire. In the new bomb, it's all white. he basically figured out that it was much easier to have somebody go out and buy, you know, rather than
One
a
big
bunch of
spool of white wire.
25-foot, buy 100-foot spool of white and be done, right? Well, that goes against my sensibilities. Cables are supposed to have color to them.
Well, let me tell you, welcome to the world of aircraft avionics wiring.
Oh yeah, it's all one color, and you have tags on everything.
It's all white. Yeah.
All white.
Well, what's funny is, so I actually, one of the companies I used to work for, I actually have some experience with shipping electronics that go into a plane and is FAA,
Yeah.
Official, and it's crazy.
Yes.
They want to know the exact formulation of your insulation and everything.
Yeah.
Which is why it's all white, because because they certify, the various manufacturers certify a white wire to all that crap that the FAA wants to stop there.
Yeah, we had a manufacturer who made something for us in China, and they basically, so the company that I worked for manufactured and designed it. We sold it for the aircraft industry, the military, and the fire industry. And the aircraft version of it was the same thing that we sold to the fire industry. The difference on the military version was that it was designed for a different, instead of being a 12 volt or 24 volt, a lot of the military trucks use 48 volts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to have a power supply, a little, converter to handle the 48 volt step down to 12 volt that you needed for everything.
Yeah.
Well, one of our Chinese manufacturers who manufactured this stuff for us, and we basically sent it to them, that, they sent us the fully assembled part, and then we basically would run through and QC them, and everything was potted. The only thing that we did at the end was we potted everything and, made sure that everything was A-okay. Well, what they didn't tell us was they switched the insulation on a part.
Yeah.
And it was because this was during RoHS, and basically hexavalent chromium became a no-no for anything that was RoHS compliant.
Yeah.
And so the formulation of their insulation, hexavalent chromium was used in the manufacture of it. And so they had to switch to a RoHS compliant, because they did this for all of their other production lines. They switched everything to a RoHS compliant material, but it wasn't FAA approved, and they didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so the fun part was, we had to tell them to go back to the old stuff until the FAA approved something.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side of it, it was funny to find it because everybody had gone to RoHS compliant everything, right? I mean, you couldn't find parts made for lead reflow, right? Everything was tin reflow, and so you just couldn't find stuff.
Yeah.
And the one exception, and it was really funny, the one exception for RoHS was in parts for planes and in the military.
Yeah.
The military is like, nope, sorry, that tin stuff is junk. Please use leaded solder. And then the same thing for planes. And everybody on the aircraft stuff, everybody is like, well, why don't you want to move up to the more, the better stuff and all this kind of stuff, right? Well, what they didn't realize was, and what we tried to explain to them, was that aluminum-based solders that had a high amount of like tin in them and no lead, they're brittle.
Yeah.
And they may not seem brittle to you or me, but if you put those things under,
vibrating airplane,
lots of vibration and multiple G's, it'll rip right off the board.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I went through all of that. it's interesting that we have the same experience from opposite ends because I'm an electronics hobbyist. I wasn't making anything like you were that went out, but I have inspection authority. I'm a airman mechanic IA.
Yeah.
And so from the other end of that, I went through all of that as well.
Yeah, we had fun when we first started learning about this stuff back then. Was we manufactured a part that went on these giant dump trucks that are used in like strip mines.
Yeah.
The ones that are like bigger than houses.
Oh yeah, where one tire is as big as the house. Yeah.
And we had this company come back and they kept telling us, they're like, man, you know, you got to figure out what's killing these tail light assemblies on these trucks. And we're like, what do you mean? And they would send us one in, and the thing would just be wrecked, just absolutely wrecked, right? And we went out and we're like, okay, what's the, you know, let's go actually field inspect this stuff and see what's actually happening, right? Because you know, you get the company rep telling you one thing, and then so we go out and we look at it, and within like 10 minutes we realized what it was. The tail light was, you know, you have the frame of the truck, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the bed that everything gets dumped in. Well, it's statically coupled for the most part to the bed, but they would have these giant shock absorbers that were like the size of tires, right? Because when you're dumping, you know, 20, 30 ton of rock, you know, into the back of a thing in a couple seconds, it's going to have some impact. Well, what was happening was it was coming down and slamming against the frame of the truck. And so one of our mechanical engineers basically looked at it, took some measurements, sketched it, went back, comes back, and goes, okay, yeah, no, that's going to totally fail every time. And we're like, why? And he's like, well, there's 10 G's of acceleration going on. And he's like, you've got a truck that, you know, the bed frame is multi-ton. He's like, if you have a part that big accelerating that fast and slamming into the frame, the amount of force that is there is insane. And so to prove it, we basically went and took one of the taillight assemblies and we sent it to a lab, and they basically put it on a shake table and did a shake test. And what we found was that certain components on those parts, even though we had potted everything in potting compound, right? That potting compound was flexible enough.
Yeah, it's fairly flexible stuff. Yeah.
And under that amount of shock, it was actually the mass of the potting compound vibrating was shearing traces off the board.
Yeah. No, that makes
sense. You know, it was like, well, you know, so we ended up having to go basically find a new potting compound. We then also went through and tried to identify any part that came up off the board significantly and tried to replace it to things that had, so for instance, some capacitors became multiple capacitors. Right.
So they kind of sit flat.
So that they set flatter.
Yeah.
You know, and just crazy stuff like that. And you know, I looked at it and it's like, on one hand, I used to look at some of that stuff and be like, man, you know, the bill of materials for this kind of stuff is tiny, you know, and yet we're charging these companies, you know, thousands. You know, I've seen, you know, $1,000 tail lights go on a fire truck, right? But the thing is,
this is why. Yeah.
This is why. And then the big part of it is like, as a manufacturer, you know, Ford or GM, they need to manufacture a tail light. They'll manufacture 1 million of them.
Yeah.
For us, we might make 1,000 of something in a year, and that would be a huge win. So the amount of engineering, you know, you figure you've got a year or 2 years in product development for anything, and you're going to make 1,000 or 2,000 of them a year, prices will be pricey. So yeah, that was fun when I worked around that stuff.
Yeah, those sound like really fun projects. I mean, especially the thing about going back and making it more G resistant. That sounds like That sounds like a pretty fun project. And more vibration resistant. But yeah, that 10 solder, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I still have at home, I have a old thing of 6040 lead solder, big reel of it, that I keep still because every once in a while it's just easier to deal with. You don't.
Yeah, I've been using I don't remember the exact temperature, but also silver.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
I love that stuff. But I have actually switched over. I do repairs for some people, and I have actually switched over to the bismuth-based chip quit stuff as opposed to the 10-based, and that works okay. I'm a lot happier with that than the original Rojas 10 formulas. And there's still 10 in it. I don't remember the exact relations, but it's a 3-part. It's like a big percentage of it is bismuth.
Yeah.
That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
I need to get some other solder. I don't have very good solder right now.
For doing SMD, like little repair shop stuff, I love Chipwick.
Yeah.
Like their products are, for removing, especially for if you've got to remove.
Obviously,
it's just fantastic. And then I also like they have their adhesive, the adhesive rosin flux.
Yeah.
Which is great for when you've got parts that you need to just kind of, because what we used to do is you do a dot of glue. You do a little tiny dot of CA glue, put the part down on the board, and then you would, do the swipe. You'd heat the part up and the board up, and get your solder on it, and just swipe across all the pins.
Yeah.
And then you take your you can waste. When I learned that technique, because for years I tried tiny little, tiny little needle fine, tips and all these kinds of things to try to get good, And then when you discover that the real solution is to just put a big old ball of solder on the thing, get the board hot, and then just swipe the entire iron across all 40 pins in like one go.
Let the solder mask work for you.
You're suddenly like, whoa, wait, that was how quick?
Yeah, let the solder mask work for you, man. It is amazing. It's like, in a big facility, there are reflow ovens, whatever. But if you do your own and everything, it's so fascinating to watch the paste all of a sudden turn silver and go, I'm going to run over here onto this path.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to line myself up for you. And oh, by the way, this component that was ever so slightly crooked, I'm going to pull it straight. That's so cool.
Yeah. All the stuff that was. The only thing you have to watch for is parts that tombstone.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
So I found this. It's 42% tin, 57.6 bismuth, and 0.4 silver. I love that stuff. That's the chip quick that I've been using the most lately, and I really like it. Yeah, 10 bismuth and a trace of silver.
Yeah, this is chicken like the box.
So still no joy, I take it.
Nope. I even put a jumper in T0.
Yeah.
In temp 0 and a resistor in temp 1, and I've been flipping back and forth, and I got nothing.
So I don't know if you saw it on the chat, but run an M563 with just a P, like M563P0, M563P1, and see what it tells you, and see if you like what you see from that, because that'll help verify that your configuration is doing what you think it's doing.
So M563 P0?
P0, yeah, and hit enter, and it'll tell you what it thinks is going on with that tool.
Tool 0, name, tool 0, drives 0. Feeders, active standby, 1.